Today, the feds indicted one of Donald Trump's top advisors and money men. And we're not talking about his Trump org CFO tonight. We're talking about brand new charges today hitting the billionaire and fundraiser who Donald Trump personally tapped to run his inauguration, arrested today for influence peddling and obstruction of justice. And that makes this a legal double shot. Prosecutors say that Tom Barrack illegally lobbied for the United Arab Emirates and then lied to them about it, lied to the prosecutors. Feds also indicting two other individuals for capitalizing on Barrack's friendship and link to Trump to secretly help the UAE. Now, this comes at a terrible time for Donald Trump in the courts, battling the separate indictment of his own entire company, the Trump Organization, and his CFO in that probe, which is ongoing. And we have more about how these intersect for you tonight. All of this, though, in the new case stems from actions that date all the way back to the 2016 campaign. A reminder for those seeking accountability for the last several years that even very aggressive probes can take years to complete. Now, the federal prosecutors say this is about far more than failing to just register as a lobbyist, noting that the defendants snuck secret information about developments within the Trump administration and handed it off to this foreign government and its intermediaries. While Barrack is accused of shaping then-candidate Trump's energy policy and even ghostwriting part of a speech where the candidate, Donald Trump, would pledge to work together with supportive allies in the Gulf. That's from the filing, while the tape suggests the plan worked.
We'll work with our Gulf allies to develop a positive energy relationship as part of our anti-terrorism strategy. We'll work with them because we have to knock out terrorism.
Now, the feds have this Trump official's emails, his texts, and apparently, from what we can tell, some encrypted messages that he thought were secret, which may be why he lied so brazenly to investigators, allegedly. And the evidence tells the story, with foreign officials hailing the amazing success at shaping candidate Trump's policy in public words, noting that mentioning the Gulf allies was great. And they congratulated their now indicted ally in, again, that evidence that the feds have. Now, it has been said sometimes that in this era we're living through, there is a tweet for everything. Well, the former president's not allowed to tweet anymore. He's lost that privilege that most people enjoy. But he certainly spent years accusing other candidates of being puppets of rich interests or foreign powers. The story told meticulously with evidence in this new indictment is that Donald Trump was the puppet himself, with his words literally written and at times spoon-fed to him, whether he realized it or not. It's a big story, and as I mentioned, we're going to get into the other Trump org issues, but we begin now with our experts. Washington Bureau Chief for Mother Jones, David Corn, has been reporting on this. Chai Komanduri, a veteran of 3 presidential campaigns, and the New York Times' Michelle Goldberg. Good to see you all. David, you've been reporting about what had looked like a very swampy situation, whether or not it was ever going to be charged. What is the significance, in your view, of this indictment, and is it broader than one billionaire stepping out on the law, allegedly?
Well, for years, journalists have been writing about and trying to get behind the story of Tom Barrack's influence within the Trump administration and how that overlapped with secret diplomacy, with his own business interests. There were stories about him pushing a nuclear deal for Saudi Arabia that he would benefit from while he was, doing this back channeling. He was collecting $1.5 billion with a B, dollars from Saudi Arabia and the UAE for investments in a firm, in a fund that he was running. So there was a lot of entanglements that the New York Times and other media outlets have put out there. And we kept wondering, why is this not illegal? Some of us. Or how close is he coming to skirting the law? Well, it turns out it was illegal. Yeah. And there's still a lot that has been written about Tom Barrack and the Middle East and Donald Trump and his business interests that is not reflected in this indictment. Doesn't mean it won't come up. This is just, as you know, you're a student of this. This is a starting point for a case, not the end point. But I just want to, if I can just briefly point to one thing. On page 27 of this indictment, if you're following or playing with us at home, there's a situation where Barrack talks to this UAE middleman, a guy who's been indicted with him and accused of being an agent for the UAE, that he's talked to Donald Trump, and he may be appointed U.S. ambassador to the UAE or special envoy to the Middle East. And Barrack says to this guy, this would quote, give Abu Dhabi, the UAE, more power. Whoa. America first? Here he is, doing business with the UAE and trying to suck up to them and even become ambassador, using his influence with Trump to do all this. I mean, there's so much more. We could spend the whole show on this indictment, but it's a classic case of influence peddling, back channel communications, and everything that was kind of wrong with the ad hoc, freewheeling way that Trump had in the White House.